Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about biological classification. This is class 11th, chapter number 2. And in this chapter we will learn about why classification is required, how we can classify living organisms, and the scientists associated with classification system. So let's study about all these things one by one. So first, the very first topic which I want to start is why classification is required. So imagine you are in a huge library filled with thousands and thousands of books. If all these books were just piled together, it would be impossible to find the one you are looking for, right? Yes, exactly. So, what we can do to solve this problem? We organize the books into category. Yes or no? What we will do? Organization of the book into categories like history, like fiction, like science, and so on. And this make it easier to find what you are looking for and understand where things belong. Clear? Now think about a situation. Let's say you are a librarian and a new writer gives you a new book. So now you need to decide if it belongs to science section, if it belongs to fiction or history, or we can say any other subject, alright? So how you will decide based on what exactly is the content of the book, alright? So let's say if it is about organisms, if it is about forest, then we can classify it into science, right? Or say, let's say if it is about historical thing, then we will classify this book into history section. Clear? So in the same way, organisms, specifically all the living organisms like plant, like animal, like bacteria, they all are the part of natural world. And just like the books in the library, we need to organize them into different what groups, right? We need to organize them into groups, and somewhere we can say these groups exactly represent classification system of living being. So clear? So we understood why classification system is required. Now my second question to all of you is how we can classify living world, or how we can classify living organism. So there must be some criteria to classify living world or living organisms into different part, right? So for example, how we can classify, let's say a particular organisms have single cell, another organism, let's say multiple cell. So this can be a one criteria. Second criteria may be an organisms contain all the organelle, or let's say nucleus which is covered by a membrane, right? So let's say there is a nucleus which is covered by a membrane, and again there is another organism whose nucleus is not covered by any membrane, right? So this could be a criteria of classification, right? Now next we can say about food habit. Some organisms can prepare their own food, other cannot prepare their own food. So based on that also we can classify organisms whether they belongs to group number A or group number B. Clear? So these are the criteria or basis based on which we can classify organisms into different subpart. So in biological classification, scientists grouped organism based on their few features like, let's say, cell type. Yes or no? Yeah, cell type is a feature. Next, what we can consider apart from cell type? Second, in this example, whether they have cell wall or not. Whether they have cell wall or not. Third, we can say nutrition, whether they can prepare their own food or not, right? So mode of nutrition could be a criteria for what? Classification of organism into a different group, which is ultimately kingdom that we will learn. So till now we covered why we require classification. We also covered why there is how we can classify organism. Now my third question to all of you is, who classified organism first? There must be some scientist, right, who classified organism first, and then another scientist who classified, and the scientist whose classification system currently we are accepting. So there must be association of, or we can say involvement of some of the scientists for classification. So third point of today's class is who classified. So that also we're gonna cover in today's class. Why is covered, how is covered. Let's come to who classified living organism into group, and ultimately we call it kingdom. So let's come to the very first scientist named Aristotle. So Aristotle, around let's say 2000 years ago, he was the first librarian of the living world. Yes or no? First librarian of the living world, meaning he categorized animals and plant based on certain criteria and characteristics. So let's come to animals first, or we can say organism. So if you want to how Aristotle classified organisms, very simple classification: animal with red blood cell, animal without red blood cell. Very simple. Tell me about human. Very simple question, right? So animal with red blood cell, animal without red blood cell, these are what? These are the criteria or basis for classification of animal for Aristotle. Now what's about plant? What's about plant? How he classified plant again? So he classified plant based on whether the plant is tree, shrubs or herb. How we can classify? How we can differentiate between tree, shrub, herb? Very simple. Simple or not? Tell me, what is the difference between tree, shrub and herb? So let's say if there is one single strong trunk, one single strong trunk, then we can say it's a tree. This is just a rough idea bit of division between tree, shrub and herb. And let's say the plant size is a bit smaller with multiple woody stem. So plant size is bit smaller with multiple woody stem, then we call it shrub. Now what's about herbs? What exactly are the herbs? So again, they are soft green plant with no woody parts, right? Example, what are the example of herbs? So we can say mint, basil, these are the example of herbs. So this is just a basic understanding of classification system and criteria which were adopted by Aristotle. Animals, he classified animal based on whether they have RBC or not. It might seem a bit basic today, but back then it was a major step in understanding the natural world. And he was, we can say, the first person, or it is the first scientific approach of classification. That's why it's very important, right? Now, after Aristotle, what happened? Do we follow Aristotle classification system today? Yes or no? No, right? So there must be certain development in classification system further. So who is the next scientist who contributed in the process of classification of organism? So the next scientist is no one but Linnaeus. So two kingdom classification, very famous. So two kingdom classification system was proposed by Linnaeus. what are the criteria, how he classified living organisms. And this is very important as well, because we followed Linnaeus classification system till recent time. We can say around 1970s. So before 1970s, we were following Linnaeus classification system only. So broadly, he classified organisms as animal and plant. That's it. Animal and plants. So, two kingdom proposed by Linnaeus. First one is plantae, another one is animalia. So we can say classification is very simple, but there are a lot of limitation of this particular classification system. Yes or no? Let's say if we classify all the organisms as plant and animal, then what's about single cell organism? Let's say bacteria. What's about bacteria? Whether it is plant or animal, how to classify it? Again, let's say single cell eukaryotic organism, how we can classify them? Again, whether they are plant or animal. So this is again a limitation of two kingdom classification system proposed by Linnaeus, right? So difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell were not considered in two kingdom classification system of Linnaeus. Again, second point, whether the cell is unicellular or multicellular, this also not considered for Linnaeus classification system. And the third point is what exactly is the mode of nutrition for organism, whether they are photosynthetic or non-photosynthetic. If they are photosynthetic, means what kind of organism they are autotrophic. So again, we can classify autotrophic into photosynthetic, chemosynthetic. So all these things, all these points were not considered in two kingdom classification system. So again, lot of organism, bacteria, protozoa, fungus, how to classify them? No idea, right? So again, how we can classify organism then? Limitation, lots of limitation in two system classification, two kingdom classification. So there is a need of another classification system. Yes or no? Let's say tomorrow some scientist will discover a new bacteria. Where we will keep it? Where we will classify it? Is it a plant or animal? How we can classify it? So the best solution is we can broad the base of linear classifications, Linnaeus two kingdom classification system. So let's say there is a need of new classification system during that time, which is based on whether the cell is eukaryotic or prokaryotic, or we can say what exactly is the structure of cell, what kind of nutrition that particular organism is following, whether it is autotrophic or whether it is heterotrophic. If it is heterotrophic, then again whether it is saprophytic, holozoic, right? Now again, how the organism is reproducing, whether it is sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction. If it is asexual reproduction, what kind of asexual reproduction is, and it should be based on evolutionary relationship as well. So these are the point which scientists or we should consider before classifying all the organism into categories, right? So again, there was a need. So again, scientific discovery or new classification system. So third scientist is no one but R.H. Whittaker. R.H. Whittaker 5 kingdom classification is very important. All the subpart, all the kingdoms are important, criterias are important, everything is so important. So this is like a recent phenomena, we can say. In 1969, R.H. Whittaker gave 5 kingdom classification system. Okay. But this classification system is based on what? How he classified organism. So He classified organism, whether what exactly is the shape of organism. Say, shape, let's consider it as more like cell structure. Don't go in shape, cell structure, whether it is prokaryotic, whether it is eukaryotic, whether it is single cell, whether it is tissue, whether it is organ or organ system. So let's say next one is mode of nutrition, whether it is autotrophic, whether it is heterotropic. Reproduction and evolutionary relationship also he considered while classifying organism. Clear? Now, very important. Kingdoms of R.H. Whittaker. R.H. Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification include what are the kingdoms? What kingdoms he included? First, Monera. Second, Protista, fungi, plant, animal. So 5 kingdom classification, how we can remember. Monera, Protista, fungi, plant, animal. If you'll read it multiple times, you will remember automatically. But let's say if you are reading it for the first time, we can make some trick. So we can say some trick are monkey play football with plants and animals. Monkey play football with plant and animal. This is a trick to remember 5 kingdom classification of Whittaker. Monera, Protista, fungi, plant, animalia. In today's class, I will give you just a rough and broad idea about these 5 kingdom classification system. From the next class, we will deep dive in these 5 kingdom classification. So what exactly is Monera? What exactly is Monera? What are the organisms which are there in kingdom Monera? So very simple answer of it, all prokaryotic organism. All prokaryotic organism he grouped into kingdom Monera. So all prokaryotes. Simple. Next, protist. Protist. They protest? No. So again prokaryotic. Is it? No. One trick you need to remember, only one word, all prokaryotes belongs to Monera. That's it. Next. Unicellular eukaryotes. Unicellular eukaryotes. So, protista are what? First concept, they are eukaryotes. They are not prokaryotes, they are eukaryotes. But along with eukaryotes, they are unicellular. They are what? Unicellular. They have single cell just like Monera. Clear? This you need to remember about Monera and Protista. What is the key feature of kingdom fungi? What is the key feature? They are saprophytic organism. They are what? Saprophytic organism. They cannot prepare their own food. This is very important about fungi. They are what? They are saprophytic. Along with this, the cell wall is different, meaning the cell wall is not made up of cellulose. So this also you need to remember about fungi. Next is plant and animals. So plant and animalia. Plant, they are obviously multicellular organism and the cell wall is made up of cellulose. In animalia, there is no cell wall. This is, we can say, the key feature of different kingdoms of Whittaker's 5 kingdom classification system. Let's revise it one more time. These are nothing but Monera, Protista, fungi, plant, animalia. What is the key feature of kingdom Monera? They are prokaryotes. Prokaryotes, so definitely they are unicellular. So unicellular prokaryotes belongs to kingdom Monera. Now unicellular eukaryotes belongs to kingdom Protista. Let's come to third kingdom, kingdom fungi. 2 important key feature we need to remember. First, they cannot prepare their own food. They cannot prepare their own food. Second, their cell wall is different. Next one, Next one is plant and animal, that we already know. In plant have cell wall, animal there is no cell wall. Now this classification system look bit more balanced compared to the previous one, Aristotle classification system and Linnaeus two kingdom classification system. So it is based on morphology, physiology and evolutionary relationship between organisms. So these are, we can say, improvement from previous two classification system. Clear? So now this is just a summary slide of a different type of kingdom which is given by R.H. Whittaker. So for cell type, I already explained you in previous slide as well. All unicellular prokaryotes belong to kingdom Monera, unicellular eukaryotic king Protista. Now for fungi, they are heterotrophic, they cannot prepare their own food, so they are saprophytic or parasitic. For plant, they have cell wall made up of cellulose, and for animal or animalia, there is no cell wall. So these are important feature. If we talk about mode of nutrition, so two kingdom very important when we talk about mode of nutrition. The first one is which one? See, fungi, heterotrophic, they cannot prepare their own food. Second, animals, they cannot prepare their own food. Rest are sometimes autotrophic, sometimes heterotrophic. So these two kingdom you should remember when you learn about mode of nutrition in five kingdom classification system. Since Monera is prokaryote, meaning they don't have nuclear membrane. They don't have nuclear membrane. What's about other five kingdom? They have nuclear membrane. Why? Because they are eukaryote, right? So this also you need to remember. If we talk about body organization, so body organization means whether the organisms have cell or multiple cells or tissue, or if they have tissue, then they are forming organ, or they are like loose tissue, or they are forming organ system. Organ system means reproductive system, digestive system, respiratory system, like that. So Monera again single cell, so cellular obviously. Protist single cell, so cellular. Now fungi, multicellular, but there is no proper tissue or organ level of organization. They have tissue, but these tissue are loose tissue. Plant, obviously organs. There are organs in plant, yes or no? Let's say leaf, stem. These are the organs, yes or no? Next is animalia. So proper organ systems are there in animalia, which I already gave you example, like respiratory system, digestive system. Clear? One more concept, cell wall. If we talk about cell wall, so you need to see whether cell wall present or not. So completely absent in animalia. What's about other? Sometimes they are present, sometimes they are not present, right? So, and apart from cell wall present or not, we need to also focus if cell wall is present, it is made up of what? This is very important. So this is all about five kingdom classification system proposed by R.H. Whittaker. Let's solve certain questions related to five kingdom classification system and other two classification system which were given by Aristotle and R.H. Whittaker. So the very first question, first time the scientific basis for classification was attempted by whom? So tell me what is the correct answer for this. Is it Darwin or Aristotle? Darwin or Aristotle? Second question, obviously Aristotle, right? Second question, the presence of RBC to classify animals was used as a unique criterion by whom? So what is the answer of this question? Is it Huxley? Yeah, the answer is Aristotle. Now, third question for all of you. Which of the following statement is not incorrect? Focus on the word not incorrect, meaning correct, right? With respect to biological classification attempted by Aristotle. So, Aristotle classification based on complex morphological characters. Plants were classified into tree, shrub, herb. So it seems correct, yes or no? Plants were classified into tree, shrub, herbs by Aristotle. Animals were classified on the basis of nutrition, is it? No, I think, right? Animals were classified on the presence of whether they have RBC or not. So next one is yes. So whether any evolutionary relationship were considered or not, phylogeny was considered or not. So this is again wrong. Animal will classified based on nutrition, wrong. Based on complex morphological character, no. So obviously you already know the correct answer for this. Let's come to next question. Which of the following statement is wrong with respect to two kingdom classification system, which is given by yes, Linnaeus. So read the question one more time. Which of the following statement is wrong? Not correct. So developed at the time of Linnaeus, yes. Used till very recently, obviously. Could distinguish between photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organism. I guess this was the limitation of two kingdom classification system. And the last one is easy to do and easy to understand, obviously. Linnaeus classification system was easy to understand, yes or no? Plants and animals. So again, this is also, we can say, correct with Linnaeus classification system. Used till recently, definitely developed the time of Linnaeus. But what is given in the question, what they are asking, wrong with respect to two kingdom classification. So obviously the correct answer is third one. Which of the following was not the limitation of two kingdom classification system? So what are the limitation of two kingdom classification system? We learn about limitation of two kingdom classification system. Now see what they are asking in the question was not the limitation of two kingdom classification. So could not distinguish between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell. This was the limitation of two kingdom classification system. Could not distinguish between unicellular and multicellular. This was again a limitation of two kingdom classification system. Large number of organisms remains unclassified. Obviously bacteria and other organisms will remain unclassified. Very difficult to classify and understand, is it? It was not very difficult to classify and it was not tough to understand. Plants, animals. Again, this was not the limitation. Fourth one was not the limitation of two kingdom classification system. So fourth one is the correct answer. Let's solve more question. So statement 1. Linnaeus classified plants into trees, shrub and herbs on the basis of morphological character. Tree, shrub, herb. Can we differentiate them by looking at them? Definitely. Second, Aristotle divide animals into group. Yes, these are two words which you need to write answer about it. What is anemia? What is anemia? But this is correct when we talk about Aristotle classification system. So you need to tell me answer of this question in the comment box. So that's all about today's class. Thank you so much for joining today's class, all of you. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.